The invention of the light bulb is accredited to Thomas Edison in 1879. But did you know there were many prior versions of the incandescent light dating all the way back to 1802? Now what does that have to do with Warframe? Well, absolutely nothing. Hey guys, hello and welcome back. As always, my name is Leyzar, and today we're going to be diving deeper into this Mastery Rank 8 secondary weapon, the Cycron. I'm going to be covering a cheap build, something affordable that anybody can build, but of course we also have the classic endgame setup with a Riven. That being said though, please keep in mind that my builds and guides follow a new player friendly approach, simply because there's a ton of information here and I want anybody watching to understand how the weapon functions and how it should be built. So if you're a veteran of the game and already know most of this stuff, please bear with me. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the Cycron. Let's begin by having a look at how the weapon behaves without any mods equipped, and for that I'm simply going to be taking a couple of free shots. The Cycron is a secondary beam weapon with a limited range of 24 meters. Now you can use Ruinous Extension to further increase that, and considering it's only 24 meters, that's definitely a viable option. The weapon is pinpoint accurate, however, being a beam weapon, that means that you don't get 100% of the damage as soon as you pull the trigger. You get 30%, quickly ramping up to 100% over the course of 0.6 seconds. There's another thing to the Cycron, it doesn't have any ammo reserves at all because it automatically regenerates its internal battery, or at least that's what the lore says. So basically after you stop firing there will be a delay, a 1-second delay, then the Cycron starts to regenerate ammo at the rate of 40 ammo every second. And that's pretty much it. Let's jump into stats to see precisely what we're dealing with. Mod capacity is going to be 60 out of 60, and if your Cycron has only 30 out of 30, jump into actions and install the Auto King Catalyst. This one can be found from alerts, invasions, or if you're lucky from the daily sortie. If not, pay 20 plat to have one plugged in. Next, my weapon has been formatted a total of 4 times, but this was done only for the purpose of testing. For the weapon builds, I'm recommending you guys 2 formats should be enough. That is because the Cycron by default does come with 2 dashes or Naramon symbols, these two, and you simply add 2 more V's to the weapon. The accuracy being a beam weapon, of course, 100%. Unfortunately, we can't really touch the accuracy on this one. For example, if I was to use Magnum Force fully stacked out, it will only give me 66% extra damage at the cost of 33% accuracy. Long story short, it's simply not worth it. Over Magnum Force, you might as well use something like Auger Pack. This mod needs a buff DE, and it needs it for, well, a long time now. Critical chance is underwhelming at 12%, and so is the crit multi. Now 1.8x is not terrible, but that base critical chance is so low, so going further into crit with the Cycron is not necessarily the best of ideas. A fire rate of 12 with a magazine of 40, a punch through of 1.0, which is awesome. We do have default punch through on the Cycron. Now it will go through some targets, and again punch through works kind of kooky in Warframe currently. Link in the description right now if you want a full demonstration. Reload of 1.0, what does that mean with weapons that automatically regenerate their ammo? That's simply the delay between you pulling your hand off the trigger and the weapon starting to regenerate its ammo. It doesn't represent how fast the ammo is regenerated. Now in this particular case, yes, it does regenerate 40 ammo per second, so there you go. But again, the reload on weapons such as this only represents the delay. Riven disposition of 3 out of 5, which means that the Rivens will be decent and still worth getting. Cycron Rivens currently are going for about 20 plat unrolled. Status chance very high at 30%, and we got puncture, slash, and radiation on the weapon. We have a default elemental combo, so if you want to further increase the radiation on the weapon, you will have to remake it within the weapon. For example, if I was to add heated charge, the heat gets left hanging, and the radiation you should treat as a very last mod somewhere around here. So if I do really want it, I'm gonna have to increase it with electricity, and as you see now they all get combined. Having 3 elements on a weapon, well, at least it's not impact, so you can get Rivens that have minus impact, which will have no effect on the Cycron. The highest amount when it comes to procs is gonna be, however, puncture, not radiation. Keep in mind that impact, puncture, and slash, the physical types, have a 4 times greater chance of proccing over elemental types such as radiation. So slash is not highest, sadly, but you can try to go for a bit of a slash build with maim, 120% extra slash, which will put your slash over the puncture. In my testing, going for a slash build wasn't exactly ideal, but let's have a look. We're gonna be slapping on mandatory mods. Hornet Strike, 220% extra damage, multi-shot with barrel diffusion, as well as lethal torrent. Multi-shot on beam weapons will not touch the status chance. As you see here, I'm still getting 30%. That is because you're not firing multiple beams. What multi-shot does is increase the damage on beam weapons, but it kind of works off the modded weapon damage value, not the base weapon damage value. It's a tad kooky when it comes to beam weapons, so take it as it is. Next, we're gonna go into elemental damage, and elemental damage should always be applied depending on circumstance. Where are you going, who are you fighting, and so on and so forth. We're gonna be taking the example of the Grineer because these are still the toughest targets in Warframe. On Grineer, you gotta look out for their two armor types: Alloy, which is weak to radiation, which is perfect in the case of the Cycron, and ferrite armor, which is weak to corrosive damage. And when I say weak to, that means that corrosive gets a 75% bonus damage against ferrite armor, and radiation gets a 75% bonus damage when hitting alloy armor. That being said, against Grineer, more often than not, your best bet will be to build corrosive, especially in the case of the Cycron that has default radiation. So you're going to be able to have the combination of radiation and corrosive at the same time on the Cycron. And this is only achievable if the weapon has radiation by default. Now let's build some corrosive, shall we? Let's start off with electricity. We're going to be using both the 90s and the 60s, so you can stop tormenting yourself over which to use. The general rule in Warframe is that if you're going for level 100 under enemies, go for the 90 mods, 100 over, go for the 60 mods. From this build, the only expensive mod is gonna be Jolt. This one is only brought by Battleketeer the Void Trader. It is not obtainable from Hive missions. From Hive missions, you can get Shell Shock and High Voltage. Jolt currently on the trade chat PC is going for about 50-ish plat, 60, something like that, because Battle just brought it. But after a couple of months go by, Jolt goes to 100 plat plus, so keep that one in mind. Next, we're gonna go to Toxin. Pathogen rounds, the 90 mods and the 60 mod Pistol Pestilence. This one is easy to obtain from Corrupted Vor in the Void. If not from the trade chat, you're looking at about 10 plat, give or take. We still have one more mod slot left on the weapon. In Warframe, from my point of view, it is important to cater each and every individual weapon to your own particular playstyle, simply because Warframe does not really require us to use the quote-unquote best of anything. Simply, there's no endgame, so there you go. So one thing that you can do is use Ruinous Extension. There we go, this one. 8 range on the pistol. Keep in mind that this is not a percentage base increase, so considering that the Cycron has 24 by default, we add 8 and we're gonna be left with 32, which is absolutely fantastic. For normal everyday missions, adding Ruinous Extension to the pistol is absolutely bloody fantastic, and I do recommend it. But I'm also fully aware that you guys like more damage with damage. I mean, damage with damage is always good, right? So you can go for something like Augur Pact. Augur Pact is a decent mod. More often than not, I don't find room for it on my builds, but considering I don't want to go into critical chance and critical damage with the Cycron, Augur Pact is a decent option. 90% extra damage, which of course will boost everything on the weapon. But perhaps you cannot let go of crit because that's simply the kind of player you are, and I'm not judging, I love crit too. You can go for Pistol Pestilence and Target Cracker. The problem is, look at this. 26.4% crit chance with Pistol Gambit. But what if I use the Prime? Here you go, the Prime, 34.4. It's simply not worth it from my point of view. The difference between a status elemental build and a crit elemental build on the Cycron is however minute, so if you want to go for crit chance and crit damage, by all means go for it. Swap out Augur Pact and a 90 mod and go for critical chance and critical damage with Target Cracker as well as Pistol Gambit. Okay, this is gonna be the base build I'm recommending for you guys, and I know it took a while, sorry about that. We're gonna be spawning in Corrupted Heavy Gunner level 120, but I can't use Mesa because her passive actually would help me in this case, so I'm just gonna be picking up, let's see, Ember should do it. There we go. Adjust the fashion accordingly, and make sure I'm not cheating with anything. And just to make sure, I'm just gonna go to an empty build. Now let's see what kind of performance we can expect out of the Cycron. I can take out one of these high level targets in about 30 to 35 bullets, well better said 35 ammo, depending on how lucky you get with the status procs. With the build that I currently have on, Corrosive is number 1 on the priority, and these are Corrupted Heavy Gunners, so it's a perfect match. Now keep in mind that you can also make use out of the punch through. I'm firing from the side so I don't, but if I was to fire straight at these guys, I'm gonna be hitting the target behind my initial target. So that 1 meter worth of punch through does come in handy. This, performance-wise, is decent for an MR8 secondary weapon, and I would consider the Cycron an alternative to the Synoid Gammacor. If you love that one, then you're gonna be liking the Cycron as well. Keep in mind that the Synoid Gammacor does have the benefit of a syndicate proc, but it also has lower Riven disposition. Link in the cards right now for a full review. And that's pretty much gonna be it for the standard build. Again, I tested critical chance, critical damage, I tested slash. Slash was mostly underwhelming, but let's have a go with crit chance and crit damage for the hell of it, shall we? We're gonna be dropping Augur Pact, and of course we're gonna be dropping one of the 90 mods as well, and we're gonna go for flat crit chance and crit damage. Pistol Gambit and Target Cracker. Let's see how the weapon performs. Before, it was able to take out a target in about 30 to 35 ammo. Kind of fired a little bit above it there. There you go. Pretty much the same performance. Like I said before, it's not a huge difference. If you enjoy crit chance, crit damage, then by all means go for it. But a status-based build for this weapon works just a tiny bit better. But again, pick and choose your favorite depending on your own preferences. And well, I believe that's pretty much it for standard builds. What we're going to be doing next is switching to a Riven setup. And this one is a loaner from a viewer, from this guy. Hey, Sinji, thank you very much, man. It has damage, multi-shot, and minus impact. When you're looking for Cycron Rivens, don't necessarily go for critical chance and critical damage because it simply doesn't play out all that well on the Cycron. Look at here, I do have one with crit chance and, well, it didn't work out all that well. A Riven with damage and multi-shot is absolutely fantastic. Now this one also has minus impact on the weapon, which in this case is completely harmless. If you would get something like minus puncture, then your slash will be highest by default when it comes to status proc, so you can work better into a slash build. A Riven such as this, however, will be quite pricey. What I recommend is picking up an unrolled one for 20 plat, go to Kuva, see if you get a roll, and again, prioritize damage and multi-shot over everything else, then try to get an element like electricity or toxin. Stay away from crit chance and crit damage. And the build is pretty much identical as before, the Riven taking the spot of Augur Pact. One more time, Corrupted Heavy Gunner level 120, and let's see what a Dispo free Riven can do. Yeah, that is a whole lot better, and I am able to take out one of the high level targets in about 20 ammo. Now that is a pretty significant increase. Just keep in mind that this particular Riven is rolled quite nicely. I don't really ever recommend Rivens as being mandatory on anything. Honestly, you simply don't need them. And a Cycron Riven, you know what, will only cost you like 20 plat unrolled, and maybe, just maybe, you get lucky on a roll. Now there's still one more thing which I want to do, bump up everything with Warframe Buffs, and we're going to be using my favorite weapon specialist lady, Mirage Prime. No, we can't use Harrow all the time, guys, that's cheating. Let's check out the buffs. Rifle Lamp, nope, that will not help us. We're going to be going for Pistol Lamp, 27% extra damage to pistols. Now these amp auras in general from my point of view aren't 100% worth it. Again, it's only 27% extra damage, but everybody in your party will be receiving this benefit, and it is stackable times 4. If you know you're going to be fighting Grineer, rest assured that corrosive projection is guaranteed to give you better results, but Pistol Lamp will grant its benefit regardless of your target. When it comes to arcanes, these are a lot more impactful, and you can go for arcane precision. Oh, I gotta sell one, I forgot. This one on headshot has an 80% chance to boost your damage by 120%, the pistols of course, for 8 seconds, and this one from the trade chat I think is about 100-ish plat, if not, farm it from the third Eidolon down on Cetus. As for your second arcane, you might be tempted to go for something like Arcane Awakening. Now this one on reload will grant you a 40% chance or plus 100% damage to pistols for 16 seconds. And we are reloading quite often with the Cycron. Unfortunately, because of how the weapon functions and the whole ammo restore gimmick it has, Arcane Awakening never procs with the Cycron. Instead, look into Avenger. Now this one will get you a 30% critical chance boost bonus additive after, which means it simply stacks on top of what you already have. So I'm going to be going from 12% to 42%. Unpaused AI this time, and of course Mirage's free ability for a massive damage increase as well as her lovely clones. And you will see that now the Cycron is fully capable of tearing through these high level targets like a hot knife through butter. Just keep in mind that I am using some rather extreme Warframe buffs. The enemies are fighting each other simply because I am getting some radiation procs on my targets. The Cycron as a whole, as an MR8 secondary weapon, is pretty good, and I do consider it a worthy option to the Synoid Gammacor. Have a look at both and see which you prefer. But that's gonna do it for the review. As always, my name has been Leyzar. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. If you have any feedback for me or would like to request a specific weapon review, then by all means, leave it in the comment section down below. Now I can't realistically promise you that it will be done by next time or even within a week, but I will be reading through each and every comment. You can also find me on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, all the usual places. Until next time, guys. Bye bye.